hiding your real name and putting a fake profile, you are coward. You are a pussy. There's not other words to tell you. You should be ashamed of yourself. If I was one of those guys, I would be ashamed to look myself in the mirror, man.
Jiu-Jitsu Robot, episode 11.
Most people have a few good friends growing up. Some have great friends that they keep in their lives for years. A select few have friends that simply cannot be categorized. The closest way to put this into words is becoming friends and then finding out you're brothers. And this is the story of our guest tonight, Vinicius Draculino Magalhães. Draculino had the unique privilege and honor to grow up with Hyan, Half, Hansel, Gracie, amongst others. After training for nearly a year under a legend in his own right, known as Pitoko, in the Jiu Jitsu community, he transitioned to the original and legendary Gracie Barra Academy, training under the likes of Gracie Jiu Jitsu Master Jajak Machado and fellow Jiu Jitsu Master Carlos Gracie Jr., known to most longtime students of the art simply as Carlinhos. Professor Draculino has carried the flag of Jiu Jitsu into the sport of mixed martial arts and into the most challenging sport Jiu Jitsu tournaments on earth, facing and defeating opponents such as the incredible Romulo Gracie, amongst many, many others. Professor Draculino is known as one of the nicest guys that you're going to meet on the mat, and as well as one of the best jiu-jitsu teachers alive today, while also enjoying the well-earned reputation as an absolute savage. So please join us in welcoming to the podcast Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt Professor Draculino.
Thank you for having me. It was a great intro, brother.
So my first, just to get straight into it, my first question for you is, what are your earliest memories of the Gracie family before you knew who exactly they were?
That's a great question. The other day, I was actually thinking about that. My early memories of knowing or hearing about the Gracies came from my grandfather. My grandfather's name is Eugenio Magalhães. He was the one that actually spoke to us about how the Gracies were lethal in fights. And also, like, he always told me about the legendary fight in between Grandmaster Helio Gracie and Valdemar Santana, which was like the world record, if I'm not mistaken, until this day, of a fight. It was a 3 hour and 45 minute, non-stop, no break, no rounds fight, no holds barred fight. It happened in Brazil, I believe in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So my grandfather used to talk to me about those fights, and he also talked to me about Carson, because he took over after Helio, and he was always saying that, man, like, the Gracies has this jiu-jitsu thing that, like, nobody can beat. I mean, they're like almost unbeatable in a street fight and a real fight and all that. And I was a little kid, I heard about that. I remember, like keeping this in the back of my mind. I started to train judo when I was like around 6 or 7, maybe 5. I was a little boy, and like every boy in Brazil, they starts judo, especially back in the day, back in the 70s. So I trained judo, and all honesty in the world, nobody talked about jiu-jitsu back then in the judo classes. It was just the kids' judo classes. And then after judo, I trained years in judo until I got my yellow belt. I actually moved houses. And I started to live closer to the beach in Baja. And that's when, like, I started to surf because of my one of my uncles, George. So George is just 6 years older than me. So he took me to surfing, got under his wing about surfing. And then the spot was really close to a very famous spot up to this day in Barra da Tijuca in Rio that is called Quebra-Mar. Quebra-Mar is a place that has like really good waves. Until this day, is one of the places that are known to have a really heavy localism there, kind of like locals only surf there and all that stuff. So one thing got to the other. I mean, through surfing, I started to surf there or close by there, and I got to know a lot of people, including the Gracies and including, like you said, Master Totila Jordan Pitoco. So pretty much surfing took me into getting to more into jiu-jitsu again. Because I mean, on the same surf spot that was telling you, Quebra-Mar, Renzo was pretty much the sheriff there. And like it was hard to understand because Renzo was really skinny and small, but like everybody was scared of him. He was literally the sheriff there. And then Ryan and Half, I actually met before surfing. I met them, not just them, but I mean, Daniel Gracie and also Carlos Russo. They're all cousins. I met them in school, in preschool. We studied together. I was on the same class of Russo, and my brother was on the same class as Half. So actually, when I start to surf, before I start to train jiu-jitsu, we're kind of already knew each other. We're not friends. We're not close friends yet, but we all knew each other.
So
And
when you,
then, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, not to cut you off there, Professor, but when you heard the name of Huso or Half, did the Gracie name ring a bell at that time, or
A
did was
hundred percent.
yeah?
100%. I remember my grandfather and pretty much everybody in Rio, all the Rio de Janeiro people knew who the Gracies were. The Gracies were like already famous, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes like a lot of people say they're troublemakers and they're hooligans and all that. So the talk was already always that the Gracies were pretty much the ones that beat everybody, like, and the ones that were like the tough guys, like the I would say the bosses. I would put it this way, So yeah, so we heard about them, and then whenever, like I said, like I start to surf there, uh, I started to notice that, man, like like Henzo and Half, they're always small, skinny guys, and they were very feared. You could feel that they were respected and feared. And then you start to watch the famous beach fights. And that's, I'm not going to lie to you, even Pitocos too. So that was what I got hooked on. When I watched the effectiveness that those guys are doing in fights against bigger guys, I was like, whoa, man, I mean, this is great. This is really indeed great. These Gracies are, the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that's what took me to jiu-jitsu, and then through getting to jiu-jitsu, we also hanging out with all this crowd there, we're friends. We started to hang out together and do all the things together, got in a lot of trouble together, not just those guys that I spoke to, but also Roberto Gordo, Hélio Soneca, like guys that everybody knows, like Rogério Poggio, and many, many more, So Daniel Gracie, Carlos Russo, Joselito, Marcel Sedan, a lot of those guys, Big Heads, Ron Big Head, all those guys who start to hang out together. And it wasn't only because of jiu-jitsu, actually before that. So that was the core group that actually started, to train eventually at the Gracie, the first original Gracie Barra Academy there. I actually started after guys like Gordo and Half, couple years after, to be totally honest. Even when I started with Pitocco, those guys were already training, so uh, uh, but then it catches up, you know what I mean. I started maybe 2 3 years later, but yeah, that's how I got started. That's how I heard about the Gracies. And after Pitocco gave me the first formal lessons, he's an amazing guy. I'm a great teacher. I actually went to the Gracie Academy. It wasn't even called Gracie Barra. It was called Gracie Club back then. So I started to train at that time, and guys like that I remember: Mestre Nelson Monteiro, Riga Machado, Roger Machado, Johnny Machado, John Jack, Renzo, besides Renzo, Ralph Hein, all these guys. Master Carlinhos Gracie, Crawling Gracie, Helion Gracie, Master Leon Teixeira. Everybody was there. It was a magical time.
Holy moly. So every one of those guys has their own, there could be a movie about every single one of those names that you just mentioned right there.
Indeed. Indeed.
But to roll it back just a little bit, well, my question is, did you feel the need to kind of watch your P's and Q's at all with those guys, or did you feel kind of a little bit of freedom from their vibe?
Man, that is the thing. It was a very tough environment when you talk about training and about like how to get better, how to be, like how to impose your respect and all that. It was like a tough environment, but a very relaxed environment at the same time. It wasn't anything super martial or super strict. It was a very like laid back, and I think this comes a lot with the surf culture as well. I think the surf culture definitely influenced jiu-jitsu a lot, and vice versa. So we could do our own thing, where there was no such thing that, oh, little boy, don't talk to master black belt, don't talk to a black belt. Like there wasn't anything like that. We're really free to hang out, to talk, and to interact with all those guys, to train. They always trained with us. And as a matter of fact, the 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 thing that stands out the most for me was that, like, they were our heroes. Like, we admire those guys a lot. We wanted to be like them. Like, it's a little different than today, that they look at the past generation, they don't have knowledge, or they call us has-beens, and like antiquate, and then like a dumb and whatever. No, man. I mean, we saw those guys as our heroes. We wanted to exactly be just like them. We talked like them. We dressed like them. And that was the thing. They were inspiring us every single day. All of them. All the names that I told you, they inspire us. We wanted to be like them. And I know for a fact that they look up to, like, guys like Hickson, like Carson, like like Master Carlinhos Gracie, and even Helio, Grandmaster Helio, Grandmaster Carlos. All those guys are heroes to them too. They wanted to be like them too. So it's a pretty good, like, a pretty healthy and a pretty respectful hierarchy that happened back in the day. So that was something that these guys are still my heroes, all of them.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely dig into some of those issues with the current generation claiming that jiu-jitsu of the past was basic, and that the advanced jiu-jitsu didn't exist, and it required the guys of today to create, basically, I guess, is their mindset, which is absurd, because something has to come from something. It has to it has to come from somewhere. So it's just the most disrespectful thing for the new generation to claim. And one specific statement comes to mind, but to claim that the generation of the past was less effective or less skilled. And again, so we're speaking our mind. I believe it was Keenan Cornelius who had said Hickson would be Hickson and Elio would be equivalent to modern day purple belts. Do you remember that statement?
I do remember that. And let me tell you, man, like, how in this world, even if he thought about this, how in this world the guy cannot put this in a contest? You know what I mean? Like, what he does today, his successful school, his everything he has nowadays, professional wise, instead of talking shit about Grandmaster Elio and Hickson, and by the way, he never had, not even close to have the balls that these guys had to actually pave the way that he is running now. You know, how can this guy like be so disrespectful to these people, man? Literally. Clearly, he's one of those guys that never saw Helio and Rickson like idols. He saw them as has-beens. He doesn't respect those two crucial people for the development of jiu-jitsu. And instead of talking shit about them, this guy should light a candle and thank them because now he has something to eat doing what he loves. And not just them, all these other guys, you know?
Absolutely. And the only reason that he's as skilled as he is because they were as skilled as they were. There's a direct connection. But he, whatever he thinks, he's delusional, is my belief.
100%. And that's a funny thing because it was like when he said that, right after that, I think he competed in a tournament, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Europeans. And then, like, I think Felipe Andrew just put him in open guard, foot on the hip, and hand on the collar, classical, and triangled him to submission. And before that, he was like, man, jiu-jitsu is outdated. They don't know the lapel. They don't know the warm guard and the whatever. They have names for everything nowadays. And they don't know this, and they don't know, like, it's the past. It's gone. And then he got tapped out on a very, very basic thing. And then Henzo made fun of him and said, hey, Keenan, if you want, come by the school. You're going to be received with open arms. They're going to teach you how to defend the triangle from the classical guard. It was like the best answer ever, man. It was the best thing. And of course, he doesn't say nothing, you know. So
Of course, yeah. That these the new generation of the best of the best, not all, but a lot, love to talk, but they don't like to do the action. They, like Grandmaster Helio and his lineage, and both sides of the family, they they got their reputation through blood, and
hmm
the guys of today are building their reputation, standing on the shoulders of giants, but claiming that they're so tall. It's not the giants that they're standing on. Um,
they are the giants of Instagram nowadays. That's what it
exactly.
is,
So,
you know.
are there any of those memorable or what's the word, legendary street fights of the Gracie family that you personally witnessed that you were there for?
Oh my goodness, man. I think just Hyans I probably witnessed 500 easily. And I watched some of House too. House was also, I witnessed some of them. Henzo's. I wasn't present, even though it was right in front of my house. I wasn't present on the beach fight between Hickson and Hugo Duarte, but it was literally in front of my house. And believe it or not, I was living with my aunt that moved to America. It was the first time I went to America, so I spent 3 months with her in Palo Alto on the campus of the Stanford University. And when the whole thing happened, it happened literally in front of the building that I lived in Brazil, right in front. And this one, I wasn't there. Everybody was there, but I wasn't there. So yeah, I witnessed like several. I'm trying to remember here more. It was like more Hansel Half and High and by far. The record. I think High has the world record of street fights. You know, I actually participated actively with him in a couple, but I witnessed a lot of them, his like solos too. So yeah, man, I have my share of watching all these fights. The legendary ones, like I said, Hickson and Nugo, Renzo and Marcelo Mendes, and some others. I wasn't present. I wasn't there. So like yeah, I witnessed a bunch of them. Trust me, a lot of them.
If the most hot-blooded one or the one with the most fights isn't high end, then it's probably Hellson. Would you agree to that?
Helson was always legendary street fighter from the Gracie family. He was always known to be very good in street fights. I did not see or watch live any fights from Helson because Helson was significantly older than me. So when Helson was running wild on the streets of Rio, I was like a really, really small kid, maybe a baby, so I didn't witness, but his reputation was was kind of like let's put it this way, he was kind of like the high end before high end, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's why he was known. His nickname was Champion. I
Campeón.
remember that. Everybody called him Champion, Campeón, you know. So this nickname was more because of the fights in the street, because there wasn't a whole lot of tournaments, professional fights. Forget it. I mean, the only footage that people have of Helson fighting Vale Tudo was that footage that he fought the karate guys. Remember that one?
Oh
There's the
yeah.
halls too. Yeah. So that's the only one that people have on record. But man, like his street credentials are huge too. Helson's.
And this is something that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, that Roger and I have trained with Helson before, and he's our professor's professor. Um,
Awesome.
we've had the chance to train with him, and the last time that we trained with him, he was nearly 70, and
Uh
a few days before he had been in a street fight, so he's still fighting.
huh. I know. The other day, man, I saw the most hilarious thing. He made a post, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if it was a post or somebody put on YouTube. I'm not really sure. A couple of years ago, and he was like filming his knee, and his knee was all scraped and bloody. He goes like, "Hey guys, what's up?" The typical Helson's way. I was like talking to this girlfriend of mine, and we're talking here, like in Leblon next to a bar, and then this guy came and talked shit that I was like an old guy, and what I was doing with like such a beautiful girl and all that, and she was my friend, not even my girlfriend. And I asked the guy what, and the guy said, "Shut up, old man." And then we got in a scrap, and I beat the heck out of the guy. But like I mounted him, and I put my knee close to like a sidewalk, and then I scraped my knee, and now I have to put this thing. I have to make sure it's not infected. And then he numbered the street fight, something crazy, like I don't know, like this is the number 438 or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. But it was the most hilarious thing, man. Helson's a character, that's for sure. And I have all the respect for him. I really like him. When I went to Hawaii to compete one time, he treated me like family, man. Like he let me train a lot at his amazing school back in the day. Take us to lunch and his house. It was an amazing time. I really like Helson.
That what you just said there sounds exactly like it might have been the exact fight that we trained with him right after, because he was nursing his knee that day.
That's it. So that's the same one. That's the last one on record.
Wow. He,
Oh my
not on,
goodness, man.
not only was Helson showing how he was all scratched up and taking care of his knee, but while he was doing that, he also showed us. He said, "Look at my stomach. Look how good a shape I'm in." Like what a character.
What a character, man. Jiu-Jitsu wouldn't be the same without Halson, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We need to keep Helson. We need to keep all these guys, you included, alive. So
Thank you,
forever if we
brother.
can. What would you say is the similarity between all the Gracies that you've actually rolled with and their differences? I know there's many, but when it comes
Hmm.
to the application of their technique.
Well, one thing that for sure all the Gracies have, because I trained with like a lot of Gracies, I cannot even recall how many Gracies I trained during my life, but one thing that stands out is that their fundamentals, their basics are killer. And that at the end of the day, this is the differentiation factor. Like I think Roger Gracie is the living proof of like the effectiveness of well applied and mastered fundamentals. So they all have different games, but one thing that I never saw is that I never saw Gracie with poor fundamentals, and also I never saw no Gracie with bad defensive skills. They are really, really, really good in defensive skills. every single one of them that I trained. And I trained with some that are younger generation. I trained with some of the Gracies that back in the day when I was on the peak of my shape, they were actually my warm up. You know what I mean? But still, even when they're younger, even when we're blue belts or purple belts, it was extremely hard to tap them out. Extremely hard. So one thing like a common factor in all of them is the mastering of the basics. And at the end of the day, like I said, that's the most meaningful thing. You have to have killer fundamentals because a strong fundamentals like a house. You build a solid foundation, you can build like a beautiful house. A bad foundation, your house eventually is gonna crack. you know. But in regards to games, I mean, they have like all different games that you can imagine. Like Hanzo, for example. Hanzo was always like very like modern jiu-jitsu, very like explosive, fast, tight. Everything hurts. You know what I mean? Half was like one of the guys that beat me up more in my life. You know what I mean? Like one of the strongest guys, pound for pound, that I ever trained with, and very intense and very in your face. And then like Master Carlos Gracie Jr., like a master of like the fundamental jiu-jitsu. A guy that mounts you, it's over. A guy that like goes little by little, putting the hand deeper in your collar, and then when you see it's over, you're like 3 steps behind. Like I competed against Hoyle 3 times, so we were I got like the I got to feel him. I got to put my hands on him for 3 times. We did 3 rounds of 10 minutes total. I mean, I had 3 fights with him, and they're all 10 minutes. I mean, I never submitted him, he never submitted me. So I could feel that the strategy, the like little details to not give you any inch, and many others, even Roger too. I trained Roger when he was a kid, and trained Roger when he was already the Roger Gracie that we met, trained with Kyron Gracie, Master Carlos Gracie Jr.'s son, an amazing, very underrated, by the way, practitioner, one of the best I've ever trained with. And the list goes on. I trained with Rickson too. There was this legendary session that Rickson trained with all the best Gracie Barra guys in 1993. So I trained with Rickson as well. So, I trained with Helion. Helion, also, man, Helion, another level of technique. One of the most technical guys I ever trained with. Crawling Gracie, all these guys. So, there was like several. I'm pretty sure I forgot some, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I was a privileged guy to be able to do that.
So what can you tell us about the training that you did with Rickson? Is it as effective as everyone knows him to be?
My brother, let me tell you this. I talked about that in a few podcasts in English, but I talk about that in almost every single podcast I do in Portuguese. So let me tell you one thing. Rickson in 1993, he was the man. He was the samurai mixed with a Superman, mixed with like whatever you want to call it. He was the man. In 1993, that guy was the man. And just that he actually was willing to train with the best guys we had at the school at Gracie Barra at the time, he already told me a lot. I was like, man, I mean, like a lot of people say, everybody says Rickson is the man, but he's actually putting the skin on the fire now with us. So now we will know for sure. Now it's not going to be like a legend anymore. It's not going to be a tale anymore. Now it's going to be the real deal, you know? And let me tell you one thing, man. I'm not going to tell you like all the details, but it's just going to summarize to you. He trained almost 2 hours nonstop with every single one of us, one after the other, and he tapped all of us out. And I'm going to tell you the names that were there, besides myself. Gordo, Renzo, Márcio Feitosa, Roberto Roleta, Nino Chambry, João Big Head, Alexandre Soca, Rony Rústico, man, and I maybe forgot somebody, but that was that lineup. I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There was no human being alive on that time that could do this to us. Nobody, nobody. And Henzo was the last one he got. Henzo was the best of us, and he got him last. You know, and the biggest lesson that I got from this session is that Hickson didn't crush us. He didn't hurt us. He didn't let us do anything. He flowed with us. He let us do things. And there's a science on that because if he went like balls to the wall with us, he probably would get tired, you know? So he just got on that zone of like, like being water. He felt us. He read us before he went to the checkmate. You know what I mean? So that was like one of the most impressive things I saw in jiu-jitsu. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we all respected him, but we trained with him. We didn't go there like nervous and shaking and let him do anything. No, it wasn't like that at all, actually. So that was like a memorable training session. I don't know if you saw a picture, but there's like this picture is all over the internet of that day. If you want, I can send it to you. But it was a magical day, man. And then like it was the proof that Hickson is the real deal. It's not a fairy tale. It's not like an urban legend. He is the real deal.
So yeah, I would love we could add that picture in right here in the podcast so people can see it if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah, I can send it to you, no problem.
That would be awesome. So in the Hickson, to be a master of, he's a master of defense and attack, but to be such a master of attacking, you have to have some kind of a master of defending, which I
Hmm.
believe was his dad. Did you ever get a chance to meet Carlos or Elio Gracie?
Yes, I was. Man, the thing is that when you're young, I was really young when I have like direct interactions with them. When you're young, sometimes you don't realize the glory of the moment. But I got medals putting on my chest, on my neck, by Grandmaster Carlos and Grandmaster Elio. And I don't have any picture or any video of that because it was in the 80s, early 80s. I mean, early, late 80s. How, like, there wasn't like, I remember the video cassette recorder. It weighed like 70 pounds and it was huge. So there was like maybe like one video cassette recorder in the Barra da Tijuca, in all the Barra da Tijuca. You know what I mean? And pictures, I mean, besides pictures, I have to take the picture and then I have to take it to a place and 2 days later get the pictures. Remember those days? I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember those days, but I do. you know, so I have to develop the pictures actually. So besides that, there was like a kind of a culture back in the day that is weird, that is totally different than today's. Like, if you actually took a lot of pictures of you winning or you fighting or you competing, you sounded like kind of like an asshole. You know, it wasn't very honorable. People would say, "You came here to fight or you came here to take pictures?" I remember those days. So sometimes we're actually ashamed to bring a camera to our tournaments, which I think it's stupid nowadays. But nowadays it's too much. Nowadays it's like all about Instagram, all about social media. Like they prefer to post pictures than winning the matches and the fights. You know what I mean? So, but that happened. But so coming back to your question, I did have interactions with them. I clearly remember them. I remember them. Grandmaster Carlos Gracie always liked to wear like a light blue bottom shirt with white pants, or sometimes all white. I remember clearly that. I remember like clearly how he sat on the organization table. He always sat down with the legs crossed, one on top of the other like that. And he has his glasses and deep blue eyes. I remember clearly that. And Grandmaster Elliot was always more active, always more like hands into work, always walking around with like a bottle shirt, that larger than life presence. So yeah, I had those interactions with them in tournaments, and I had a very interesting interaction one time that like Grandmaster Helio got a car ride with Renzo after they had like a training session in Barra that the famous judoka Ezequiel Paraguaçu, the name of the choke Ezekiel is because of him. When he came to Gracie Barra to train, and some of the Gracies were there, like Helian and Carlinhos and Renzo and others. So I remember that Hoyler went there and took Grandmaster Helio, and Hoyler had to leave because Helio, I think, I don't remember exactly. It was a long time ago, but I think Hoyler had a private class or something. And then Renzo gave Grandmaster Helio a ride, and I used to date a girl back in the day that used to live closer to where Renzo lived and Grandmaster Helio lived. So I took the ride too. So I sat on the back seat, and Grandmaster Helio was in the front, and Renzo in the front driving. Renzo used to drive a Fiat back in the day, an old Fiat. And I remember that I was just quiet listening, of course, but I remember their interaction, and Renzo was like, Uncle Helio, but you always on the bottom on your fights. You're always on the guard, and you still could do damage from the bottom. How did you do it? And then Grandmaster Helio did the most iconic answer. He said, like, oh, son, for you to know, you have to be on my guard and I'll show you. That was like the funniest thing ever. Get on my guard and then you're going to know. So that was like my interactions with Grandmasters Helio and Carlos. So, like I still bite my elbows because I don't have any pictures of them putting the medal on my chest. Imagine how cool that would be. So that is one of the shit that is worth it to post on Instagram for sure. You know.
That's a very old school thing too to say, like that the a lot of the old school masters do is basically if there's any doubt or any question, just let's get in the guard or let's do it and I'll show you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There
that
was a lot like the Gracies always operated. The Gracies always taught things, and there was always the smart asses. We call them smart asses. Oh, but I don't think this works. Oh, but what if I do this, this? It's the what if guys. What if guys are the worst. And then like the Gracies was always like, okay, come here, I'll show you. You know. So we actually, all of us from my generation, got this from them. And it's a good thing.
So when you first started learning jujitsu, did you learn the fundamental self-defense system first, or did it come later into the journey?
No, no, no. It was first like when I start training on the house. We call the house in Barra. It was actually, if I'm not mistaken, on the wall. The first 30, I think the first 36 classes, if I'm not mistaken. It was a program on the wall. And this program was all like based on self-defense awareness. So we back in the day, every single class, every single one of them, even on the advanced classes, started with self-defense moves. You know, I remember the Gracies were big on like making fun of you if you couldn't escape from headlocks.
Yeah.
It was like one of the funniest things because when it started to get tough and winning competitions and all that, he goes like, "Hey, buddy, you tough, but you cannot escape from a headlock of a very strong guy." And then we're all like tough kids. I said, "Oh, I can." And they got like the strongest guy in the school. I said, "Okay." I remember Romulo Cardoso was always a big, big, strong guy. Rony Rushik was always a big, strong guy. So I say, "Hey, Romulo, grab this guy and grab a Draculino or Soca or Sonequinha or Marcia Feitosa in the headlock, and they have to escape." And then it was a matter of pride. We needed to escape. And guess what? We did. So the self-defense was really intrinsicated in our training. if I'm not mistaken, Joey and Roger, if I would put like a timeline on when the self-defense training was kind of like a little left behind a little bit for group classes. I mean, on the private classes, it was a must, of course. But on the group classes, I would say it would be from 93 all the way to like the early 2000s,
Mm.
because that's when the federation was born and when the rivalry between teams in competitions was huge. That was the period when we from Gracie Barra could finally take away the dominance that the Carson Gracie team had for decades in competition. So it was kind of like a pattern. It was kind of like a trend. We need to train for competition. The best team, the most well team will be the team that wins competitions and win matches in competitions. That's when I think self-defense was a little, I would even say neglected by most of the associations back in the day. I'm glad that with time people started to wake up because it was wrong. It was not the right thing to do. And I think nowadays we have a really good balance in most of the associations. And some associations, they still go to the streams on only doing self-defense or only doing competition. I don't believe in that. I think jiu-jitsu is just one, and jiu-jitsu is everything. Self-defense, competition, professional fighting, gi, no gi, etc.
Yes, we believe the same way, absolutely. But I think we would all agree as well, like we said, like you said before, that the foundation of fundamentals and self-defense has to be there before you start reaching out to anything else. Otherwise, you're totally
100%.
ineffective.
100%. It's the old story. It's kind of like a gimmick. It's kind of like a bias, not bias, but kind of like cheesy. But man, the way you build a property, a house, a building, it's strong foundation. It's exactly the same thing with jiu-jitsu. And I believe every martial arts, every combat sports, every sport, I will even further, every sport, you need to have a strong, solid, unbreakable foundation because you can go anywhere you want after that. I don't believe the other way
Absolutely agree. One thing that we've experienced that Roger specifically told me one day is that he had been training different places. He had dropped in on a few different places and had competed um, in a few tournaments, and no one knew the UPA escape,
around. Yeah. Oh,
which
yeah.
is,
I
you know,
totally believe that. I totally believe that. Totally believe that.
why do you think that is, that the most effective pieces of the system, the technique, is being neglected? Is it because it works regardless? What is the
Oh,
reason?
yeah. I think the biggest reasoning in a big picture aspect is selfishness. People are selfish. You know how? Because they don't want to bother to do things that they don't like or they're not good at. For example, there's these guys that are like great in competition techniques and great in strategy on making a person win within the actual rules. So he goes and says, okay, I'm going to teach you like strictly De La Riva in reverse De La Riva. You're going to be like, I'm going to create like a system that's going to be very hard to pass your guard. You're going to look at the clock. And then when it's like 30 seconds left, you're going to sweep the person and get on top and stall because it's just going to be a couple of seconds to finish the match. And then you're going to win. Okay, I'm fine with that. If you want to be a competitor, you need to have somebody who can teach you strategy correctly. But the problem is that associations and schools are built into this alone. There are schools nowadays, if somebody wants to go and say, hey, you know what, I want to learn how to defend myself, I want to learn some self-defense moves, they will say, this is a jiu-jitsu school. Jiu-jitsu is not self-defense. Where if you want to be a champion in the mats, you can train. But if you want to learn self-defense, go train in another jiu-jitsu school or maybe train Krav Maga or train something else. This is an absurd. completely absurd. So I think people are being selfish to actually uh, 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 put a label on jiu-jitsu that the only good jiu-jitsu is the jiu-jitsu that they like. You know what I mean? They say like, look, why you bother to do tournaments? I'm gonna go to the other spectrum. You don't need to do tournaments. Tournaments are unrealistic. Tournaments are bullshit. You guys gonna learn how to defend yourself and be like lethal weapons. You know, like don't even bother about tournaments because if you go to tournaments, you're gonna submit everybody. That's what a lot of schools also say on the other end of the spectrum, because the competition only ones say like self-defense is dead. Nobody cares about that anymore. This is not effective. You know, like if somebody wants to beat you, sue them or buy a gun or call the cops. You know what I mean? Like everybody's or also the gi and no gi debate. So people are actually pushing the agenda, the bullshit I call agenda. Sorry, excuse my French, on their favor instead of like sitting their asses and try to be better in the overall picture of jiu-jitsu, try to open the minds and learn self-defense, understanding the mechanics of self-defense, understanding that jiu-jitsu, our jiu-jitsu comes from a self-defense awareness. And then also on top of that, like build good jiu-jitsu practitioners, teach them to be competitive with the latest trends in competition and all kinds of rule sets. People don't want to do that, man. People don't want to do that. They want to do the easy route. And they want to push their easy route to everybody's throats. That's it. Man, like there are very few professors nowadays that could teach a great class to a 65-year-old a businessman that comes into jiu-jitsu to learn how to defend themselves and improve overall health, mental, physical, and spiritual health. There are very few people that can teach a good class to a guy like that and a good class to like a world champion in jiu-jitsu or a UFC fighter. Nowadays, there's a very few people that can teach to a good class, a class that will be like worth it to both profiles. Almost no jiu-jitsu school with the new wave or whatever you call it can do that. Think about it, you know. And we that came from those times that we learned the complete system, we can. Man, I mean, I have under me training every day, Hall of Famer jiu-jitsu fighters. I mean, 5-time consecutive world champions training me every single day. Brazilian national champions, Pan American champions. And I also have this other person that learned to defend themselves and they improve their lives overall. They're more confident because they know that they can defend themselves in certain situations. But you don't see this nowadays anymore. It's very hard, you know. So that's why I'm completely against the people like putting like their preferences, you know, into being the real thing. Into like, okay, jiu-jitsu is this, jiu-jitsu is no gi. Gi sucks. Oh no, no gi is gross. Jiu-jitsu is practiced with the gi. You know, man, everything is jiu-jitsu. Everything is jiu-jitsu. That's my biggest belief and something that I see that more and more people are losing that, you know?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, one thing that I was taught very early um, is that a good teacher will teach, will teach techniques that make the class or make the student better, but a great teacher will teach the student what they need to learn the most.
100%. 100%. You know?
That,
And
that's
like unfortunately, I think if things keep going that way, we're gonna be the minority, man. You know, things are not looking that great for the future of jiu-jitsu in regards to this. You know.
if we have any say in the matter, we will make sure that that doesn't happen because this is exactly the methodology and the mindset that we train with and that we learned and that we pass on and teach today, even to this very second. Exactly what you just said is what we believe, the way that we train, the way that we teach, everything that we do is centered around that. But it's rare. It is absolutely incredibly rare.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad, guys, that you guys are holding the flag. I really, really hope that whatever he's saying, like, gets in certain people's ears. Because I mean, like, we cannot lose our roots. We cannot lose track from where we came from. And I mean, like, look what happened to all the martial arts. If you don't want to believe us, just look at history, man. It's simple. you know.
And I think the confusion is that we're as a martial art, we're losing effectiveness, but what it looks like with the sport competitions is that people are becoming more effective than ever. What do you
Hmm.
think? What How do you put that into words that those poor guys are winning and tapping out everybody, but if somebody snapped their fingers and there was just all of a sudden no time limit and a fight broke out, they would be just as lost as the people watching the tournament.
Well, I think this is what I think. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that say, like, look, everybody sucks nowadays. Jiu-jitsu is ugly. In my time, it was way better. I'm not one of those guys. I really know for a fact that the technical level of jiu-jitsu improved drastically with the years. The technical level that we see, the level of fighters that we see now, because I mean, I'm still very active in competition and coaching people and training high level people on the highest level. I mean, in the black belt world championships and ADCC and et cetera, et cetera. Jiu-jitsu improved, of course, like every other sport, like technique wise, technology wise, like the athletes are way better prepared nowadays. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is way more technical now, the competition jiu-jitsu I'm talking about, than before. 100%. I have no doubt about it. The thing that scares me a little bit is that it kind of relates to what we are talking before. But one thing that scares me is that people are forgetting where we came from. So what you said, for example, is not even like on the technical side of things. It's actually also on the attitude. You know, like a lot of champions nowadays, a lot of jiu-jitsu champions, they don't have the samurai attitude, the martial art Bushido code nowadays. They're just characters. They're just like sometimes even clowns, like everything for a like kind of thing. They're great, don't get me wrong, great competitors. But I mean, there's almost zero martial arts etiquette or Budo on them. You know what I mean? And like the time that we came from, for example, man, you can be a champion, but you absolutely have to handle yourself in a street fight situation, in a self-defense situation. You can actually be killed, but you don't put your head down. Nowadays, I know for a fact that a lot of champions, and this is like factual, I'm not making that up, guys with like impeccable curriculums in the competition sphere, man, somebody talks a little harder to them or slap them or something, they will run away and get the camera and say, I'm showing you, I'm filming you. And like the same guys that talk a lot of shit on the internet. That happens. So like I think nowadays like the hypocrisy is reigning. You know what I mean? Like it's all about being hypocritical. And those are the same guys that talk shit about the past generation. I'm not saying that we're tougher than the people nowadays. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think what we're losing is we're losing track of what we came from. They don't know that Master Helio Gracie got on the challenges that he had. With 42 years old, with infection in the ear, and like 25 kilos lighter, he fought 3 hours and 45 minutes because of his honor. He didn't make a dime on this match. You know, they don't recognize like when Rickson Gracie got in a fight with Hugo Duarte, which is an amazing, tough, one of the toughest guys around too, just to make sure that he protected Jiu-Jitsu's integrity. Because people are saying that Jiu-Jitsu was gone and Luta Livre was taking over. You know? So people don't remember that. And I mean, like, this was the real deal. There was no rules, man. It was like a fight, fight, fight. You know, there was no rules, there was no money, there was no press, there was nothing. You know, and those guys did that because number one, they had the martial arts spirit in them, and also, man, like they're not hypocritical. They live and died by what they believed. That's it. Nowadays, it is literally gone, little by little. You know, this is the time of show, of likes, of trash talk, of appear no matter what. You know, no matter what. People now want to be the center of attention no matter what. They do whatever it takes to be the center of attention nowadays. You know what I mean? And this is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. It comes back to what we're talking like in the beginning, in the middle, and now, you know, at the end of the podcast, is that we are losing track from where we came from. And that is very, very dangerous.
We agree, sir. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, just because it's something that I've shown to many people in the past few years. There's a video that you took part in with one of your students that's entitled "Provoking a Giant," Part 2, Ball Grabbers.
Yeah, that was a funny one. I
Can
remember that.
how that came about and what that was about?
Uh, I remember that like one of my students, Kobe Black, and he's known as Paparazzi. He used to do a lot of videos for me. And actually, by the way, those videos actually became kind of viral. I've never had intention to do any videos. I mean, I was still like with the old school mentality of, man, like let me do my thing. I don't want to be filming all the time, taking pictures all the time. And Colby was the one that opened my eyes and said, Professor, look, the world needs to know who you are. You have to do these videos. You have to do these things. And he was the one that actually, the very first one that put in my mind that like the world changed and we needed to, you know, spread the word of the good jiu-jitsu all over. But anyway, uh, I remember there was like, he posted some videos of us training. And then, like the internet trawlers, the internet warriors, the keyboard warriors, or whatever they call it, he started to talk a lot of crap about, man, how people say this jiu-jitsu thing works. The guy keeps opening the legs like that, all relaxed. I just gonna grab them on the balls and squeeze and make them submit or to win the fight. Or just punch them on the balls or kick them on the balls or some shit like that. They would saying something about the balls, you know, after commenting on the training session at the gym, like a grappling training session, jiu-jitsu training session. There was no punches or any strikes involved or anything like that. And then he told me, it's like, man, this guy's like talking all this shit. Let's do a video about that. It's like, what do you want? We need to talk shit back to them or what? He goes, no, no, show how, being with your legs open, if you have this the mindset of a real situation, how can this work? And that's what I did. It's simple. I mean, if a situation is a real fight, of course, idiot, I'm not going to be so relaxed and so like I would say unprepared for things like that. If it's a real fight, I'm going to act completely different. I'm going to use the jiu-jitsu, self-defense jiu-jitsu. I'm going to use techniques that are applied to the specific situation. And I thank God I could do that because I learned a complete system. So that's why this video came about. I just showed simple examples on how you can change from a regular relaxed training session to a fight, you know. And you guys already know that jiu-jitsu has adaptations. We can adapt to everything you want as long as you know the complete system, you know.
Absolutely. And the overarching, the overarching theme that people probably didn't even recognize there is the old school willingness to correct the guy. If he had shown up at your academy, I'm sure you would have corrected him on the spot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, 100%. If he got
Luckily,
mad, they'll beat him up.
luckily
you
for
know.
him, his mouth just, you know, he he saved his life from only talking rather than talking.
Yeah, yeah. And let me tell you, man. I mean, like, internet changed everything. Like now a lot of people can talk shit behind a computer screen or a phone screen, putting fake names, fake picture. Nowadays, there's a lot of those tough guys. But like 99% of them talk all this nonsense, all this bullshit. They're not gonna show up. They're not gonna knock on your door. They're not gonna show. They're not gonna do anything because I mean, these people are losers, man. I actually feel sorry for these people. If you need to talk shit, hiding your real name and putting a fake profile, you are a coward. You are a pussy. There's not other words to tell you. You should be ashamed of yourself. If I was one of those guys, I would be ashamed to look myself in the mirror, man. Period. You know. So if you want to talk shit, make sure you talk shit in people's faces, and then we're gonna have a little bit of more respect for you guys, shit talkers.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if anyone out there that's listening, um, you're one of these people. Any of us, any of these schools or Gracie Jiu Jitsu, students or professors, we would be happy to demonstrate the effectiveness of the technique. So, any school that's in the same mindset as us, I'm sure that you can go tell them to their face what you are typing online, and they will give you a free demonstration or a free lesson. So,
Yeah,
Professor,
100%.
I know that
Go ahead.
you have time constraints and some obligations here tonight. Did you have anything that you wanted to hit on or anything before we let you go?
Yeah, my brother. I think that even though sometimes you're gonna come for 1 year and get out of the other, just want to send a message to a lot of people that are being like part of what's going on right now with our jiu-jitsu scene, especially here in America. You know, there's a clear agenda promoted by schools and mostly for media conglomerates to actually deconstruct the history, our history. They don't like the Gracies. They don't like Brazilians. They don't like history. They are all about the new trend of likes, of like comments on trash talk, controversy, and etc., etc., etc. They actually talk about the past generations as has-beens, old crazy people, crazy old people, and etc., etc., etc. So, a little message to these guys: if you now have something, if you now have some money, if you now have some kind of attention or lights on you, be grateful to what the past generations did for you. What happened is that, like I always like to say, back in the beginning of the 19th century, the 20th century, What happened? They gave a little knife and a little hammer to Grandmaster Carlos Gracie, Helio Gracie. They start to have to cut the whole forest to make sure that it could make a civilization. And then when Carson came, there was already like a lot of trees cut and a lot of like paths open. And then what did he do? He actually cleared the whole area and started to put like some roads into that. Then came like the other generation, Rickson Gracie, Carlinhos Gracie, and they made very nice roads and started to build the first buildings. And then my generation came, we actually came and we put the buildings a little prettier. We actually expanded the cities and etc. Now these guys come with like modern cities, big, nice, evolutive civilization. They come with everything ready. They sit down on their, between parentheses, throne, and they talk shit about everybody who made it possible. How come? My generation is super grateful, and we are like, actually, we are fans of the previous generations, man. You know, this is like this construction is a clear agenda to do what? To make heroes the guys that just came now when everything was built and ready. And guess what? A lot of those heroes are cowards. A lot of those heroes are just characters of media, of social media, and etc. A lot of them know. A lot of the new kids are the real deal. Don't get me wrong. Most of them actually, but this construction, you know, screw the Gracies, screw the Brazilians. I actually heard from some people saying that some of those guys say like, screw this third world monkeys. Now it's ours. The art is ours. Screw these guys. Screw these old fucks. I heard that, you know? And I mean, imagine that, man. Imagine how pissed off and how disrespected a lot of people feel. Shit, if I feel, imagine the other guys from the other generations, man. Imagine how Rickson Gracie and Grandmaster Helio Gracie feel when this guy says they're, oh, these guys are beer purple belts nowadays. They're nothing. You know what I mean? So that's my message. You know, do not disrespect the previous generations. You know why? Because in a very near future, you will be the previous generation. That's all I need to say.
Perfect. That's perfect, Professor. And one last thing from me that, Grandmaster Elio is not here to defend himself anymore. And, you still are, but either way, for those people that say stuff like that, he's not here, but we're here to, defend his honor if you say that to us. So for the
Yeah.
guys, you watch what you say. There are still people like us out there that will respond. So that's it
Yeah,
from
we will respond and don't call the cops on us or film us and put in social media screaming. Please be a man. Back up or you talk. If you want to talk crap, fine, but back it up.
that's it. That's it. Roger, anything else from you? We need the professor here has some obligations.
Oh, I just had one quick question. I'm a big fan of private lessons. What do you think about
Hmm.
taking regular classes with a curriculum or without a curriculum, or taking private lessons? What's more beneficial?
Well, Roger, I will tell you like that. I think the combination of both is the ideal. I really believe like the private classes will actually correct the little small details that are very needed, as you know, for us to be the best that we can be. I really believe that. I believe that if you only do private classes, it has to be on a very, very regular basis. I don't believe if you take one private class every 2 weeks, that's going to be very beneficial for you. I think that like also like if you only do group classes and if you don't refine and if you don't ask, if you don't go after your difficulties, that's going to be also detrimental for you. So I believe that the combo between the two of them is the best thing you can do. So let's like put out for a second like our reality, because I mean we live and breathe jiu-jitsu. Let's get like a regular practitioner. So a person that has another job or have all the other obligations in life and they don't have the same time or commitment to do it as we do. I recommend, for example, if you guys do like 3 times a week, a group class and 1 private class a week. And I believe that this private class should be versed on the difficulties that you had during training on that week. And sometimes this topic can take years. Like, man, like I still cannot find the best way to control somebody from the mouth. I'm getting bumped out very easily or getting the guy recovered very easy. So you know how it is. Like a basic topics like that can take really really long time until you click, until you get what you need to be good at it. So I think a combo between the both of them is great. But the private classes, I'm a big fan of private classes too, because like it's a little more, how can I say, it's deeper. The private classes are definitely deeper.
Definitely.
It's definitely deeper, and I think like every practitioner should experience that.
Well, thank you so much, Professor. I know you got to get going, so we won't keep you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you very much, Joey. It was a great talk. I'm gonna tell you right now, you don't even need to call me about editing here and there. Everything I say, I back it up. If it depends on me, you just publish and that's it. I'll be happy.
That's
Awesome.
exactly that's exactly what we'll do, Professor. We'll put it out exactly as we said, and we'll make sure to let them know where you're located and everything about you, so they can
Great.
take a class, or hopefully sign up with you for good. So
Awesome, man. I appreciate your time, guys. And Joey, I'm gonna text you like some of the pictures that you wanted, and you can use it there if you want to.
yes, sir. Thank you. We'll do that. We'll add them in there. Thanks so much, and we really appreciate you talking to us tonight. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a blessed night, and I'm here for you whenever you need it. All right. Thank you.
Same here.
You
Same here.
too.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
What a great interview, man. Doing this podcast is just so much fun, man.
You know what this was, Roger? And it's hopefully, we'll be able to show, as we will show people as much of the conversation with Javier Vasquez that we have. But these are these are two different generations from two different parts of the world, and we are a third generation from a different part of the world, but we're all speaking the same language. We're all saying the same stuff, almost like exactly to a T. We're saying the same thing, and that's just a testament to the fact that people like us care enough. People like Javi, people like um, Professor Draculino care enough to pass on, to pass along what they actually received and the way that they received it. Otherwise, you're not getting the real deal. You're gonna get whatever your whatever the instructor of your academy is teaching you, or rather showing you. You're going to get most likely their favorite techniques, the things that they enjoy, the things that work for them. And a Gracie Jiu Jitsu person or someone like Draculino or us or Javier is going to teach you what you need and what will work for you, not work will work for us, but will work for you. And that takes a completely different approach. Um, so we just have to keep doing what we're doing. And clearly we're on the path that we believe that we are. Otherwise we would be hearing some insanely different, ideas, but we're not. We're hearing what we say, what we think, what we believe in is exactly what was repeated to us right there. So do you have anything? Do you
Amen, man.
agree?
Yeah, no, I think if we were under a different mindset, we would be, I don't know, interviewing Craig Jones and training a B team or something.
Yep. And just while we're in this mindset of confrontation, I guess, um, there's nothing wrong with confrontation. There's nothing wrong with backing up what you say and being willing to prove it and to stop someone from running their mouth. That's what bullying is. It's just allowing the person to talk or allowing them to act in a way that is not acceptable. So it's just that our belief is that you need to respond immediately. Basically, you need to
Yeah.
shut it down now. It can't be allowed to continue 1 second, and we're ready to go. We're ready to prove it and defend it right now. And that's definitely not the case for everyone. Specifically, those amazing jiu-jitsu guys, amazing submission grappling guys like Craig Jones, who could tap me out 25 times probably in a 10-minute roll. But I don't believe that he could um, deal with, let's say, being bear hugged under the arms or over the arms by like a 350-pound guy if he doesn't know it's coming. I don't think that he would be able to deal exactly what Draculino said. If someone headlocked him that was incredibly, like way, way bigger and stronger than him, where his technique would have to be correct. He would have to have a technical answer for that headlock. He would be able to move his body and use his effective sports jiu-jitsu techniques to probably escape 90% of people because they don't grab the headlock right. But the right big guy, strong guy, will hold him down in that headlock and hurt him. And that same big, strong guy holding Elio down, that purple belt, Gracie, Elio would not feel a thing. He would escape that headlock with zero effort, zero energy. And he might be defending on his back for 45 minutes. But every one of those attacks, those big, crazy guy attacks like that, he has an answer to. Craig Jones has an answer to your sport question.
Well, yeah,
And
he's a world class competitor, and I'm sure he could teach athletic, you know, jujitsu guys how to. He could improve somebody already good. I don't know how good he would be at like teaching beginners. Maybe he could teach beginners, but I think like if you're into sport and you're competing and you want to go to a Craig Jones seminar, or if you want to train with Craig Jones, he could teach you and you could improve like that style of sport, no gi jiu-jitsu. But can he, is he the best teacher? Like, could he teach like, my 60-year-old mother jiu-jitsu? Probably, he probably wouldn't be interested. He's more like he's basically a jiu-jitsu celebrity, like YouTube TV personality and world-class competitor.
yeah, and specifically us, he would be able to teach you and I stuff that would make us better for a fact. But we already have the foundation. We already have, a good amount of time in um, sport jujitsu as well. So we speak that language, and we speak the, self-defense, no, don't put up with crap, that language too. But what we believe is that, to put it bluntly, that if you don't know self-defense, if you don't know how to teach someone that's, like a cancer survivor that is 6 months out of therapy, not like Javi, but like, like they blasted them with radiation, so they have no strength, they're weak. If you can't teach that person jujitsu, and in a way that they progress and they're capable of slowly learning the technique and becoming effective and learning to defend themselves, if you can't do that, you suck. I don't care how fantastic your game, your sport jiu-jitsu is. And again, it is fantastic. Craig Jones's sport game is fantastic. Keenan Cornelius' sport game is fantastic. They are high level submission grapplers, but the mindset of our jiu-jitsu ancestors is, if you don't know self-defense, you don't know jiu-jitsu. If you don't know how to fight, you're not a black belt. So who is the actual, Keenan Cornelius says Elio would be a purple belt. Well, Keenan Cornelius doesn't know the self-defense system. He doesn't know how to fight. So who is the purple belt? Who is actually the lesser skilled when it comes to life or death, defending yourself when it counts? I think for the listeners, you probably know the answer to that. But if you don't, you need to train with somebody that is effective at the self-defense system. Don't just discount it. Don't just watch the videos of someone doing a knife defense, or grabbing the collars and they're doing their defenses, and you say that, oh, this is like, this is karate. This is like just as BS. It's like street kung fu type of stuff. And if you haven't experienced it and felt it for yourself, don't don't doubt it. Don't knock it. Don't knock it until you tried it. It's one that you really need to experience, because the effectiveness is real and it's different. There are a lot of crossovers between self-defense and sport jiu-jitsu, and they roll over nicely into each other. But building that foundation the way that I did, the way that, thankfully, the way that it was taught to me, and this, we're talking maybe last night, a couple of days ago, that not just building the foundation, but then building the ways to knock the foundation down, and then building the person into someone who can teach both of those things the exact same way that they learned it. And that system right there, that's what's not uniform. That's not out there everywhere. It's not out there hardly anywhere. We've said before, Pedro Sauer, Gracie University, the Lynch brothers, Draculino, Javier Vasquez, Scott Phillips, us. How many more are there? I mean, Helson's schools.
Certainly.
If you've got, one of those Gracies, or their kids, but even going down the line, you never know what you're going to get because of the popularity and the rise of popularity in sport jiu-jitsu. That is very seductive for, and I'm not naming anybody in particular, but it's very seductive to say, man, I could get out on the mat with a bunch of beginners, and if there's a crowd, I can tap those guys like 5 or 6 times, all of them, and they won't necessarily probably come back because they'll get crushed, but the word will get out. The people will believe that that's basically that sport effectiveness is what the power is. That's that's what Gracie Jiu Jitsu is, and then the money will start to reflect. So you might get more and more people and build a stronger monetary flow, but it's almost like you're selling your soul to do something like that, when the way that we were taught is, let me show you how to escape the mount. Let me show you how to defend yourself, not how to tap people, not to crush them. Let me show you how to not get crushed. And that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's like the whole first year for me.
For me too, Roger. That's, I don't know, I think we've talked about it, right? Maybe if we haven't on here, that you started you started taking group classes and then transitioned over into private classes with me while continuing to take group classes. And we did exactly what Professor Draculino is saying, that we would address some issues from class, but I also made sure that we still did lesson 1, and then lesson 2, and then lesson 3. And
Right.
we didn't get out of line ever to this day, right? I told you the other day that we're going to start back when we're back, in person together. We're going to start back on the lesson that we left off on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to learn, and a lot more for both of us to learn and to teach. But man, the biggest thing that I got from that right there is that the belief that we have that the world is they're being sold this delusion, it basically is the way that the previous generation feels. It is the truth. We are telling the absolute truth. You, as a jiu-jitsu student today, if your instructor is telling you that either one of two things, either you are learning self-defense, they're doing the same thing that Hoist did at UFC 1. You're getting fighting jiu-jitsu, and then you start doing stuff um, like the berimbolo or 50-50 guard or some stuff like that on day 1, then you're being sold a lie. 100% fact. There is no legit self-defense school or person that's going to teach you on your first day anything even in that universe, because that's like going to the 850th page of a book, and then reading that page and trying to figure out what came before, and then trying to figure out what's going to happen after. It's not possible. But maybe it is possible, but you're going to have to go. You're going to read the 850th page, then you're going to read the page 19, then you're going to read page 900, then you're going to read page 2. So you're going to have to put all this stuff together. But wouldn't you rather have, if you go train with Roger, Roger is going to say, welcome to Jiu-Jitsu. And he's going to show you the book. He's going to open up the book to page 1, and he's going to say, so let's read the book together. We're going to read the book, and then we're going to say, this is what I think it means. What do you think? We're going to discuss, and then we're going to test what we believe, and then we're going to demonstrate that what we say is true, and in a way that you get to experience it. And then Roger's going to turn the page over and say, here's page 2. We're going to read page 2, and so forth. Page 3, page 4, page 5. That's what you're going to get from Roger. That's what you're going to get from me. That's what you're going to get from Scott Phillips, from Javier Vasquez, Gracie University, Draculino. The legit guys. They're going to take this kind of method, and that's not to say, by the way, if you're in group classes, there's a difficulty in taking one person from A to B to C to D when you've got so many people that are on all random pages. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I think that's why you were asking the professor about that specific question. Is the legit schools, they might still in their group classes, they might have no choice but to kind of jump around a little bit. Even the Gracie, I always want to say Gracie Academy because that's what it was for me for like, forever, for like 20 years or whatever. But Gracie University, that even though there's a curriculum and it's strict and whatnot, they are still on, lesson 2, lesson 9, lesson 17. But the difference is that one lesson doesn't have to precede, or it doesn't matter where it falls, because you don't have to know the lesson before or the lesson after. They're all standalone lessons in the fundamental.
But they do build
Um,
off each other, right?
they do build off each other, and if the instructor is skilled, which they should be, then they're going to be able to weave this together for you in a group class just the same way as in a private class. The big difference is in a private class, what you're getting is, well, let me say it like this. In a group class, you are arriving, to make a comparison, you are arriving at a department store to buy a suit, and you say, I need a large suit that is, however long in the arms, however long in the, down, I don't know what you call that, but I need it to be this size. Well, you're going to go look on the shelf or the rack, and you're going to find what is closest to, fitting you, and you're going to get that. But it's not going to be perfect. Chances are it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be close, and it will be a jacket. It'll be a suit, but there are going to be little things about it that's just like, it's not for me. It'll do, but it's not for me. But when you come to a private class with me or Roger, one of us, that you're coming to a tailor, and we're going to make you a suit, and we're going to measure you, and we're going to get a perfect, to exact, to the millimeter of your wrist and of your shoulder, and where it fits perfectly under your arm, and it fits like a glove. It's just a perfectly fitted suit. That's what you get with private classes from an instructor that knows the craft.
Tailor made.
Um, Tailor-made, that's it. That's what you have. That's what I have. Though they're slightly different, based on something that we talked about before. And people should know out there that my jiu-jitsu application, or my game, is slightly different than Roger's jiu-jitsu application and his game, based on our physical, differences. And you're a little bit more athletic than me, and a little more aggressive, and there's no reason that you can't use those things while you have them and incorporate them into your game. But you wouldn't teach someone those things. You will teach them the things that I taught you that will work for that cancer survivor. And that right there is the pure jiu-jitsu. That's the real one, and that's what you need to be looking for if you're training at an academy, and this sounds foreign, or you don't know what we're talking about, or it sounds like we don't know what we're talking about, then look into this a little bit deeper, not from a perspective that we are wrong or we're crazy or full of shit or whatever, but that we maybe, just maybe, we are right, and that no matter what the prevailing, wisdom of the day is in sport jiu-jitsu and how it's quote unquote evolved, it certainly has developed. I just don't like that. It has devolved from a fighting art to a competitive sportive art. But point being, please look into what we're saying. Don't just believe one side or the other. What would be best for you is to try both. Try a sport jiu-jitsu class for like a month, and then try a self-defense class for like a month. And after that month, see which of those classes, if you got into a fight on day 30 of the sport jiu-jitsu class, ask yourself, would I be better off here, or after the 30th day of the self-defense class, would I be better off here? And then go from there. That's what I would say. You need to experience it for yourself, because until then, it's just dudes randomly talking. I mean, we could be full of crap. We could be crazy. Professor Draculino, although he's not, he could be crazy. So how are you going to know? Keenan Cornelius could be absolutely right. Craig Jones could be absolutely right. They're the evolved versions of these old dinosaurs that we are a part of, I guess, that
I,
we're
I'm
not.
glad our kids know. Like my kids, like I was just teaching a lesson right before the podcast, and my daughter showed me a video of a friend of hers getting a fight, and she was like, he had the double leg takedown right there, and then I was like, well, demonstrate to me what you would do, and she demonstrated it perfectly. And by the way, we're on lesson 29, rear takedown, so that's what we worked on today. But we did touch on what was available after watching. I guess it's not even a friend of hers anymore. It's like a guy she used to be a friend with, and I guess it's a friend of a friend now. But we got to watch this kid. I don't know what he was doing. I guess he was going for a takedown, but he was getting his face punched while he was trying to grab a hold of this bigger, stronger kid.
So he was worried about grabbing when he should have been worried about distance.
Right.
And she recognized some of the details that he clearly didn't. Otherwise, he would have been, concerned with those details. Maybe not specifically that one. But by the way, I want you to tell Allie that this takedown, lesson 29, is overwhelmingly my favorite, and I found to be my highest percentage takedown. When I really try for the takedown, if I can get to that spot, that I've been pretty much able to take everyone down that I've tried. They might pop right back up, but their butt hit the floor, and that's pretty awesome. That
Right.
it's a really truly effective takedown. You can't see what's going on behind you. That's one of the big problems. And so the element of surprise, even if you know it's coming, it's still there. It's just effective as all of the fundamental techniques are. It's super effective, but that specific one I really really like. Other than that, my next favorite, and this really has nothing to do with anything, but there's a little inside trip. The I just posted just a few days ago a video of me teaching Blake the crawling variation of this inside trip.
Yep.
And it's, if not for the crawling variation, then the standing variation is my favorite. I do so many different takedowns and techniques off of those that it's if you look back, I mean, you can look back through some of the roles that I even have on the Jiu-Jitsu Robot channel, and at points you'll see it looks like that I'm trying to do one of these takedowns, and it fails. But in reality, I have these systems in play that it's intentional, that I will start the technique and then either intentionally sit, or the person's response, I allow it to cause the technique to fail, so that I end up on my back and then try to either sweep, or, to be effective on the spot from there. And I have a whole system built around that. But that's just me. You see, that I might not teach everyone to do that, but I really like to do it myself. And you have your techniques that you like as well. But yeah, definitely tell Ali
Certainly.
that lesson 29, love it. It's fantastic.
Oh, I will.
So
They
yeah,
they're less thrilled about the takedowns usually, just because we don't have any like crash pads, so it's just whenever you land, it could be hard because we have mats like on top of the concrete. Well, we have mats and then like a layer of cardboard and then concrete.
so here's what you need to do. You have pillows, correct?
Yeah.
This specific takedown, you can direct the person that you're taking down to like, almost like you could put a dime down and then have their butt hit that dime every single time. You're pulling them directly where you want them to go.
Right.
And they bend their legs the way that you want them to, and you're both kind of giving into the making the technique work. We're just training. So there's a way to do this technique on a hard floor and not be hurt, or not even have any your butt is not even going to hit the floor and bounce. It's just going to be a soft landing. But it's not going to happen if you don't prepare for it. You need to first of all be taught correctly. You need to prepare for that, your butt hitting the ground, and you need to understand why it would fail, why it'll hit hard, and how it will succeed, how to prevent it from hitting hard, so that you can, you make a concerted effort to land softly. And as you go, practice more and more and more and more, then you get to the point where you don't even care. Like, I'm not sure if you have this experience, but a lot of beginners with the shoulder roll, forward back shoulder roll, they are scared they're going to hurt themselves, even on the soft mats. And I will run across the room and just standing shoulder roll, like back and forth a few times, even today. I'm like 43, not in super high level shape. And, you know, I'm running across the room as an old man, flying through the air and then rolling on my shoulder and neck. And it's because that I've practiced it enough to know for a fact that I'm safe and I can do it safely and not be hurt. But that's not the beginning of the technique. That's not even the middle. That's that's years of practice. So if you want to get there where you can just play and have fun and really stretch your legs jiu-jitsu wise, then you just have to put the work in. There's really no other way around that. And the best way to do it is with another person that has done it before. That's going to be your saving grace. That your jiu-jitsu journey is going to be difficult, um, but if you have somebody that can help you along and say, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong, or change this, or what you're thinking about that, no, that it's actually this. You need that. You really do need that, and you will progress so much faster. You will enjoy jiu-jitsu so much more. And if the person is self-defense, lineage, or believes as we do, well, they have to have been taught as we do. They can believe it and still be absolute crap, but um, you'll know it pretty quickly. Um, but that's how you get this love that will never go away, and ability that will never go away to be on the mat the day that you die, teaching and learning. And you will not have that unless you learned it right to begin with. So that's what I believe. That's what Roger believes. I don't need to ask. I know it. But, well, Roger, let me ask. Is that what you believe?
That is what I believe.
Can you believe that? People, can you believe that? I read his mind. If you had listened to the podcast with Javier Vasquez, you would hear that Javier believes, as we do, by the way, that there comes a point in your effectiveness in jiu-jitsu that you literally, we can read the emotions, and it sounds like hooey, but we can read the mind of the person. Not to say, oh, I'm thinking about, I'm going to ride a bike to work tomorrow, and I'm going to eat Cheerios, and I'm going to watch Mr. Show, and none of that. The things that we pick up on is like, you had a bad day today. You're a greedy person. You're a bad person, or you're truly a good-hearted individual. You are dangerous. You are you act like that you like me, but you actually don't. Um, Things like this, we can read your mind, and not only that, as Javier said, we can start to influence those decisions to make you act on them, which confirms that what we believe is true. Otherwise, I would think, oh, you're greedy, and then give you an opportunity to be greedy, and you would do nothing, and then, what would you say? Well, I guess I was wrong. But it's not like that. I believe you're greedy, give you a chance to be greedy, and then you be greedy like 20 times in a row. This is why we believe and correctly believe that jiu-jitsu at some point way down the line gives you the ability to have this such a hyper focus on the emotions of the other person that it's just, we don't even need to be rolling. That Elio Gracie said that he can touch your hand, and it's almost like the person becomes weaker just from the hand touch, because Elio has so much confidence and skill and ability that regardless of that person and who they are and what they know, he knows for a fact he knows more and that he's better. So that hand touch, the message is transferred. You are the weak one. and and he was correct. He was correct. It takes a long time to get to that point, but it's pretty dang awesome when you do. But these are just like extra benefits and some of the cool things about jiu-jitsu that's kind of outside of the things that really, really matter, like your ability to defend your face if somebody is grabbing at it, um, your ability to escape the bottom from a very big, heavy, athletic person who just wants to hold you down and hit you, somebody that has squeezed your neck, which is like the most common thing, that headlock, the most common thing. Somebody that you you they pick a fight or whatever, and the fight starts, and on your way in for a takedown, I would say 9 out of 10 people, if not 10 out of 10 untrained people, will wrap your neck in a guillotine. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but where was I going?
I don't know. Where were you going?
I can't
Basic,
remember.
yeah, basically you were talking about right before you lost your trail of thought was self-defense jiu-jitsu and the benefits.
Yeah. The benefits, the immediate benefits of the self-defense program is that lesson one addresses the most likely thing that's going to happen if you're attacked by a big, strong, super athletic guy. He's probably going to get you on the ground and he's probably going to mount you. I've experienced that myself in my life pre jiu-jitsu, and I've seen it so many times. You can look up fights right now between untrained people, and that's where they go. They go right to the mount. It's just a natural, like the animal part of the human being is telling them, get on top of them and just kill them, just attack. And if you didn't learn that escape, that defense right there first, then you're really not addressing the most likely thing that will happen. The second most likely thing that will happen is lesson two. The third most likely thing that will happen is lesson three, and so forth and so on. So that's the benefit of self-defense, is that you're literally addressing the things that you're most likely to experience in the case of being targeted, or just getting into a fight that you can't get out of. Um, in sport jiu-jitsu, you are addressing almost a 180 from that. You are addressing the most likely thing to happen if a sport jiu-jitsu person has just slapped, bumped, and then they hit the clock, or what, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
match starts, and you're gonna address what's most likely from there. That's what you're gonna get from a sport jiu-jitsu school, um, and you just don't need that in a self-defense situation. Maybe at some point down the line, after all these most likely attacks, we will get into that stuff. But it's just based on the chance, the chance of what's most likely, and then it's a sliding scale from there. The chance that you are attacked by someone, well, specifically Craig Jones, is probably zero. I mean, it's probably 0% chance that anyone is going to be attacked by Craig Jones. He would be worried that he would be sued. He's recognizable, and it's just not going to happen. The chance that you're attacked by someone that's equally skilled to him, well, there's not a whole lot of folks that are equally skilled to him out there in a sport jiu-jitsu sense. So even the chances of that is probably zero. The chances of being attacked by a skilled jiu-jitsu uh, competitor is is still almost zero. It's still very, very low, although we know cases of it where it has happened. But again, I've said before, that's why we don't just neglect that. We do prepare to fight that individual, um, but we do it with the techniques of self-defense, and then the knowledge of the defenses of how that individual applies jiu-jitsu. and how to deal with that and still stay in the right range to not be hurt by punches and to be able to do damage to them. Because don't forget, we in our lineage, not only was it Grandmaster Elio Gracie defending for long periods of time, he he beat people up too. He knocked people out. He um, uh, the name escapes me. I cannot remember. Was it the wrestler Vladik Zbyszko? I believe it was that the Grandmaster had used those heels to the kidney so much that the next day Zbyszko was urinating blood and fragments of his kidney. So it's not just like we're just inferior, and that's our lot in life, that we're just gonna be defending. No, if I have the chance to take you down, I'm gonna take you down. If I have the chance to be on top, I'm gonna be on top. If I have the chance to attack, I'm gonna attack. And if I get a good opportunity, I'll submit you. It's not a like a have to. We're just gonna stay down there and cook them, even though we see the opportunity, and um, we just choose not to go there. Well, no, it
Well,
depends.
isn't it funny how they say like jiu-jitsu is not effective in MMA, and then they make a rule specifically saying you can't kick somebody in their back while they're in your guard? Like, that's why MMA is bullshit, because they make rules like that.
The specific rules, the unified rules of today, have have prevented probably 99% of the effectiveness of the game that we play, the strategy that we use, because we're not going to be in a position to get kicked in the head like that. Um, we're not going to be in a position to take headbutts. We're going to defend them. We're going to stay out of those positions. But the guys today, they can go to those spots and rest. They can go and take a breath there and know that no harm will come to them. And that's an illusion for the listeners. That's an illusion. MMA it is um, it's a sport, but it's also it's an entertainment. The most important thing in an MMA fight is to entertain. The second most important thing is to um, control, I guess, to to dominate. And the third most important thing after both of those things is to win, even if it is by three old dudes sitting around the cage that have never fought a fight in their life. They've never been underneath a heavy guy or learned to defend punches. But those guys are going to say who won the fight. That's modern MMA. That is nearly the furthest thing you can get from a real fight. It looks like a real fight, but believe you me, it's not. So there's so much to be said and talked about with this, and we could go on forever. And that's why we do this podcast now, is so we can talk and build on these conversations. And next time we'll build on what we said here and the questions and statements that were made here. We'll be able to build on those and so forth and so on. But suffice to say, the the things that are being said and taught, and for example, Keenan Cornelius saying Hickson and Elio are purple belt level, and that sport jiu-jitsu is is the same as self-defense, or that sport jujitsu is a sport, so they're correct. And then they say, if you want self-defense, you need to go learn stand up, or you need to take an MMA class, or you need to take Krav Maga. That that almost requires a response, like a Gracie way. You know what I mean? Like, for that person, you almost need to say, what did you say? You know, did you say that you're a jujitsu school? I came for self-defense, and you're saying, no, we teach jujitsu. For self-defense, you need to go learn some other crap. Then, and I mean, as a beginner, you would be less likely to do this, but that's almost worth just slapping that guy, because that just that is unforgivable. You're
Yeah.
teaching you're teaching the most effective form of combat, unarmed combat that has ever existed. And just because you don't know how, or if you do know how, you refuse to pass it on, that you're going to lie to your students, or you're going to send them in a direction that is absolutely not going to help them in self-defense, because your wallet is a little bit thicker doing what you're doing. If you're out there and you're doing that, you're a piece of crap, and you're a terrible person. You're a bad jujitsu instructor. You're a bad example of what a representative of jiu-jitsu should be. And as far as the lineage that we're in, that you deserve to get your butt kicked. And you know, we're certainly available to do it if you would like, or if need be. But other than that, Roger, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna see if you shot any video for this episode.
No, you know, I didn't shoot any for this episode. I was really I had spoken to him right before we started, and I was going to see if we could push it, 30 minutes, and try to get that set up and take a shower and kind of, I have a whole little process that I do beforehand. Um, but, he had some obligations that he had to see to, and there's no problem with that whatsoever. We'll bend to anybody that we respect as much as we respect him, that we'll work with it 100%.
I already know you
But
run on Brazilian time.
yeah, exactly. The sport people are like, what? What is that? What does that mean? But yeah, look it up if you don't know. Look it up. Um, but no, I wasn't able to. I'm not a real tech guy, and I know it's probably easy to just do it, but I was so focused on, like, just like jujitsu, I wanted to go from A to B to C to D, and
People want to see the
jumping.
robot.
Yes, exactly. You want to see how the mindset of the jujitsu robot works. That's it right there.
Oh, by
The
the way,
the
I
the
think
feel.
you should take a box of the Little Debbie's mini cakes. I think we might be able to get them as a subscriber.
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah, man, that's what you run on, man. The mini cakes.
Oh, gee, not the little Debbie. That's Entenmann's, right? Entenmann's.
Oh, I had it wrong. Entenmann's mini cakes.
Yeah, yeah, we can work with Entenmann's if they want. But wait a minute, wait. We might need to cut this out, because I don't want people to think that Gracie Jiu Jitsu dudes are like, hey, eat some crap, and that's what we do. Even if it's true, you
Well,
shouldn't do it.
well, I wanted to challenge you. Because,
Okay, what? Bring it on, Roger.
well,
Bring it
I
on.
have two challenges. One, set up video. So that's number one, because I think it'll increase production value. But two, yesterday and I really took this to heart. Like right after the podcast with Javier, I was pumped about diet, and the next day I wrote down everything I ate. It was basically oatmeal and like a vegetable soup, and today I had like oatmeal and a couple apples and vegetable soup, and Sophia's probably making something awesome plant-based for dinner. So that's my challenge to you, is to cut out the sugar and cut out the sugar and cut out the pasta and at least those what do they call them? Just like the enriched carbs. Like, yeah, don't eat a lot of bread. You know, if we could eat like more vegetables and fruits, I think our health would drastically improve.
I think you're right, and I will, as any good jujitsu, Gracie Jiu Jitsu representative would do. You bring a challenge, then I will respond. And although I don't want to do that, of course, I want to eat all the crap that I have. Um, what good would I be? Would I be actually as legit as I claim or think? Um, if you brought me a challenge and then I'm like, no, or yes, but then actually don't do it. So,
Well, here's the
yes,
thing. Here's to keep us both accountable. We're gonna write down every single thing we eat, and we're gonna post it online. So
okay.
at the end of 30 days, we're gonna have like a kind of like a calendar with everything that we consumed for the day.
So you know what? I agree 100% to
You
this.
accept?
100% accept. I have one request if you would, because we always say, like in a fight, do you want to do punches or do you want to just roll? Do you want a time? We give a little thing, right? So my little thing that I would request is that I have 2 days to start. That for the
So
rest
on
of today,
the 10th, on the
well, let's
10th
see,
or the
the
11th.
rest of the rest of today and tomorrow, and then after that it starts. So what would that day be?
Okay, today's the 8th. Tomorrow will be the 9th. So the 10th, you officially start.
So that's it. On the 10th, it begins, and you're gonna see. And I will get Ashley to verify and to prove it, because she will be, she'll be happy to tell you that, oh no, he's been eating crap and candy and drinking like all kind of crap, because here I am saying, like, yes, I accept your challenge, all like Elio Gracie esque, and then totally failing. But no, no, that's not going to happen. Once the challenge has been extended, then we fight that fight, and this is the way that we fight it. So, yes, you agree to 2 days?
I agreed to 2 days, but I'm already gonna go from yesterday. So I'll do it 4 extra days.
Now, as far as drinks, is tea. What do you think? Whenever I was on the Gracie diet, I could still drink tea and coconut water along with regular water and coffee. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. Yeah. I of course, like no sodas. Like I wouldn't have like sugar or cream in my coffee. I wouldn't have sugar
Yeah,
in my tea. It'll just be regular unsweetened tea. Um, coconut. Well, yeah, I guess there's all the everything that you mentioned jives with the challenge.
perfect, perfect. Because yeah, all that stuff is good, and I don't like anything in my coffee anyway. I just like black coffee.
Perfect.
Uh, so yeah, man, and Javier had his thing down to a science, the Gerson Institute. Um, but it's so close to the Gracie diet that I think that I'll just take us, pivot over to the Gracie diet, since I had such good results whenever I was on it, and just stick with the Gracie diet. And as long as everything combines and you know, um, I am meeting the challenge, or um, what am I looking for here? I'm not failing, I'm not cheating, then it continues. The fight continues. That's the way we'll look at it.
Well,
So,
take a couple before pictures or video, and take a picture of you on the scale next time you get a chance, and we'll compare in 30 days. That way we can, you know, that could be its own series. Like, you know,
yeah,
this stuff really works.
yes, and Javier Vasquez should know that he has inspired us to do this.
You definitely have.
Uh, it's crazy because we hear some people that we really respect talking about the same kind of stuff, but it's just that some people have a way to put something into context and to make you hear it a certain way that it just hits
It,
you where it needs to.
isn't it funny? Sophia has been telling me for, months and months, like, hey, you really should do this diet. It's going to be so beneficial. And then I have to hear it from Professor Javier to decide to do it.
Yeah,
He was giving me great advice all along.
all along. And even Ashley has been telling me pretty much nonstop, we should get back on the Gracie diet. We should do the Gracie diet. And there's no good reason not to. I mean, your life and your ability to live your life feeling, as good as you can, being ready to roll, ready to fight, um, having great energy, sleeping well, waking up feeling great, not being so sore, like all that. I felt it before, and I've never experienced any kind of negative reaction or anything negative in any way from the Gracie diet or from eating more healthy. So there's just really no reason not to do it. We just needed to be pushed right at the right spot by the right person at the right time. So that's what happened.
Hey, do you want to do the intro to the interview with Javier? I still have the script, send you the script for the asking of the questions, because we have the audio from him. I think we have about 15 minutes of audio of him. And then because I didn't know what we needed to record. Like, I've been recording this podcast the entire time, right? But
Mm.
on two different devices, I have audio and video. But I I recorded on my other phone and my battery was low, so I was like, okay, well, I'm only going to record the parts where I'm going to be on the podcast, right? Which I should have recorded the whole thing.
Right.
But so I have 15 minutes of him that we could edit and have you re-record questions with video, which would be perfect. And then we could piece that all together with the photos that he gave us. And then, yeah, but we could do an intro to that right now if you want.
Well, I'm looking for the questions or the intro that I gave. Do you know what I said?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't have any of that audio.
I think I wrote the what I was saying on my notepad in the office at work, and then typed it into my phone. And then as soon as I asked the question, or made the statement or intro or whatever, then I erased and then went on to the next because I can't find what I said. I have a problem doing it, but I don't know what I said.
Well, let's reschedule. We'll have like a video where me and you are both on call, on record, and then we're both shooting our own video, and we can introduce tonight for the podcast we have, yeah, our guest, and then we can do the whole intro that you did. It's a shame that we lost all this, and that's why I'm doing like 2 backups. But we can do the re-intro again, and then we can talk about. So during the taping of this, we had technical issues with our equipment. We thought we were recording. It turns out we were not recording the entire time. So we have uh, basically a quarter of what we recorded.
And we've learned, we have corrected this issue so it will not happen again. But we wanted the people, that this is what we'll say. We wanted the people to understand that when we discovered that, we both reacted. We both were devastated and reacted somewhat pathetically. I know that I did. That devastation is, for me as a jiu-jitsu guy, is like someone who has a puppy that lost their puppy. It's just like, that's the only other way that I can put it into terms for somebody, that how serious and important that is. But as truly legitimate, um, you know, descendants of Elio Gracie in a jiu-jitsu sense, that maybe for 30 seconds we experienced those chemicals and reacted to it emotionally, or aggressively, I guess, just angrily, but pretty much immediately started to realize that if this is the worst thing that happens in our life, that things are going great, and that this opportunity right here, this loss, is the perfect opportunity for us to demonstrate how to respond to things that are not going your way, or things that have completely fell to pieces. Here's how we experienced it right before your eyes. And you see, we reacted as humans. We are, of course. But then, like I said, within 30 seconds to a minute, then our jiu-jitsu nature took over. The jiu-jitsu robot program turned on, and then it never came back up again. And we have made this into the biggest win that Roger and I have had so far. I mean, what really is gonna come of it is, and it may have anyway, but the the message that we got about our health, and that how much you can change your life by your thoughts, and the stuff that Javier told us, that remains regardless of whether the audio remains or not. And those are things that we're going to be able to share with people. And sure enough, it would be great for the YouTube channel to have that full interview. But the fact that we will grow and be healthier and be able to pass that along as well is the biggest growth we could have had from that podcast.
Right.
It literally is the biggest. I mean, it could make us live longer. It could also lead us to make help other people live longer. That's a victory, right?
Exactly.
So this is how you use Gracie Jiu Jitsu to win even when you lose. We call that the principle, spin it for the win. So you can think of it however you want, but we just think of it as the fight between Kimura and Elio, where Elio was not going to win, and having lost, how was he supposed to treat that? How was he supposed to use that to his advantage, and to make Gracie Jiu Jitsu more popular and in more demand, and people to believe in it even more. And he did it. That's the principle of spin it for the win. That's what Elio did, and that's what we did here, and that's what you should do when you come face to face with some kind of problem or devastation in your life. That you will experience your human emotions. There's no way not to, unless you're a psychopath or something. But you can shut those chemicals down and um, and take over in a sense. If you have this how do I even say it? It's almost like an alter ego. It's a separate piece to our spirit that if we're able to, if we're able to utilize that, it's in combination with our Christian spirit, our jiu-jitsu. I want to be careful not to say a separate spirit, but perhaps it intensifies our Christian spirit, and it allows it to shine and to take over. And within that spirit, we have housed Gracie Jiu Jitsu because it is, the truth. And Jesus said, when you hear the truth, you hear my words. So that's that's the way we look at it. That's the way we think of it. And we think you should too. So, anything else?
No, I'm just gonna get this sent over to you, and then I'll work on the last week's podcast and kind of formulate a script so we can re-record those. So that's what we'll do. I'll send this over to you. I'm gonna check it right now. Fingers crossed, it all recorded on this one device.
Yeah. So if you can just send the audio to me, or if that's easier, that I would love to hear it as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
whatever you have that you can send the fastest, that would be awesome.
Okay, I will.
Cool, man.
All
Cool.
right.
All right. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have anybody lined up?
Professor Pedro Valencia. I'm not sure the date, but he said this week, so we only have a few more days, but I'll speak to him. Well, let's see, he's in Florida, so it's a little bit later there. I will speak to him in the morning and
Okay.
see, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we have 4 in the box cooking, so we can release one of those next. What do we have? We have Buzzard, then Solo one, and then we still have to finish up Javier's with re-edits and reshoots, and then we have, of course, Professor Draculino's. So
Yeah, we have some awesome episodes for the people. And by the time they hear this, I guess, if we're still recording, by the time they hear this, they will have already probably heard those episodes, but we're excited about it anyway. So,
oh yeah,
anyway,
awesome, brother.
Roger, I'll let you get to working on that, and I'll do my thing, and
Okay.
we'll meet back. We'll circle back around and do it again next time.